everybody, and welcome to another Top 5 board gaming video. This particular video is a sort of update because I'm going to be talking about games that I started off not particularly liking, but then they gradually grew on me and I've started to enjoy them more and more. That said, before I get started, as always, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at my Facebook and my Twitter pages where I post my new videos as well as fun articles and contests, giveaways, all sorts of cool stuff, and they're great ways to keep in touch with me as well. In addition, you can take a look at my Patreon page where you can become a sponsor for my channel, and you can actually have a lot of control over what I do and when I do it and all of that kind of stuff, and it would be great to have you guys on there as well. That said, like I mentioned, this is a thing where I've been playing board games enough that, I know that first impressions matter, but at the same time, I'll play games several times, and these are examples of games that at first I was kind of like meh on, but now I like them more and more and more. So, with that, I hope that you enjoy this video. We're going to go ahead and get started with my number 5. At number 5, I've got a game that you guys will probably recognize I've talked about in contexts somewhat similar to this in previous videos. The game itself is Eldritch Horror, and more often than not I compare this to Arkham Horror because that's sort of in the same type of vein. Now originally I really liked Arkham Horror a lot more. The reason that this is so low on the list is because I still liked Eldritch Horror. The first time I played it I really did enjoy it. It's not a bad game by any means, nor did I ever think it was a bad game. I was just more inclined to play Arkham Horror, at least at first I was, but now I really enjoy Eldritch a little bit more, simply because it tends to be a lot more streamlined, it's easier for people to learn, and I like the single player mode for Eldritch a little bit better as well. Arkham Horror is just huge. If you've got any number of the expansions, it gets ridiculously enormous and absolutely makes your mind boggle. But Eldritch Horror, again, lower on the list because I never didn't particularly like it, but now I like it even more than the original one that I used to enjoy. So, Eldritch Horror, my number 5. At number 4, I've got a game that honestly I kind of bashed when it first came out and after I first played it because I didn't enjoy it, and especially compared to the original game that it sort of stemmed from. The original game was Race for the Galaxy, and this particular one being Roll for the Galaxy. In Roll for the Galaxy, you are rolling dice to see what action or actions you're going to be able to do. You get more differently colored dice depending on what projects, what developments and planets you're getting and all this kind of stuff. So it's a similar but different dynamic from Race for the Galaxy, and for some things I do still enjoy Race for the Galaxy. I enjoy the engine building aspect a little bit more and how the phase picking works because you don't have to worry as much about exactly what you're rolling as far as the phase picking in Race is concerned. But Roll for the Galaxy I have started to like a lot more. I've learned to appreciate the strategy differences between the two rather than doing a direct comparison, just saying that they're different and that's okay. It's fine to have dice rolling mitigation strategy just like it's okay to have random card mitigation strategies, and I kept comparing them as being similar games, but it took me a little while to realize that yes, they're similar thematically, and the actual phases and things that you're doing are similar, but just the nature of how you're going about it is fundamentally different. And once I really started to realize that, I started enjoying Roll for the Galaxy a lot more for what it actually was. And with all of that, Roll for the Galaxy is my number 4. At number 3, I've got a game whose intellectual property I have always absolutely loved ever since I started gaming, but a core mechanic that I've only relatively recently started liking more and more. The game is Lords of Waterdeep. So this is based off of D&D mythology or, theory, whatever you want to call it. Dungeons and Dragons. And that's why I love it. Okay, I love the IP. However, it is a worker placement game. That is what it is. And up until relatively recently, I really didn't like worker placements that much. I do have my favorites, but the fact is that normally when I play a worker placement, my mind tends to get really boggled, and I just like start freaking out and just thinking about all the different options, and I'm just kind of like, and more often than not, I just don't know what to do. So they frustrated me a lot. But as I've played more and more games, especially more and more worker placement, then I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like I started to more enjoy the fact that we have all of these different options, and there's a lot of different strategies that you can take to reach sort of the end of the line type of stuff. And not to mention, again, the fact that it's D&D. I love D&D. I really started gaming with tabletop games with Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. So, you know, this is like classic fantasy RPG. It's just like, boom, like that's my wheelhouse. You know, that's what I'm all about. So I really, really enjoy this game, or more so than I did. Again, the first couple of times I played it, I was just so overwhelmed. Even the theme didn't really save it for me. But now that I've liked other worker placements more, coming back to this, I'm just like, yes, this is amazing. It's a very well done worker placement game with a wonderful theme that I now really adore. Lords of Waterdeep, my number 3. And number 2, I've got a game that I kind of bashed pretty good several times in a bunch of different videos, but now it's actually one of my favorite games that I love to play pretty much no matter what. It is 7 Wonders Duel. When this first came out, I hated the very idea of this game. I hated the fact that it's, you know, this, like, why would you take 7 Wonders and make it 2 players? 7 Wonders is great! It's awesome! And then even when I played it, I was kind of like, this, like, I don't understand the appeal. Like, why is this so good? What's so great about it? And then I played it a few other times, and I was just like, okay, like, I'm seeing this, I'm getting this now. And more and more and more, I'm just like, wow, there's so many, again, there's different strategies, different approaches you can take. You can have short and long-term planning because you can see a lot of the cards that are coming up. You can directly answer your opponent. Having just the 1v1, the singular opponent, means that it's a lot more of the back and forth aspect of gaming that we really don't have in a lot of others. If you have a group game, then you're doing one of two things. You're either not really responding to anybody in any real way, you're responding to only a handful of people in some particular way, or you're just randomly attacking other people. Those tend to be the only real options. So having just the 1 versus 1 means that you're just kind of like, yeah, I know, you're going down. You know, that kind of thing. And again, as I played it more and more, I started to enjoy it a whole lot. I've played it a couple of times with Pantheon as well, the expansion for it, and I loved Pantheon. I know a lot of people really enjoy it, and I'm definitely one of them. It added an additional layer of strategy, some additional goals that you can go for, pretty much more of everything, and it's a great example of what I think expansion should be for a lot of board games. But with all of that, 7 Wonders Duel is my number 2. And number 1, I've got a game that I really did not enjoy, primarily because it took the spot of one of my favorite games. This one is Pandemic Legacy. Yes, it is the game that took the number 1 spot on Board Game Geek away from Twilight Struggle pretty much right after it came out. And I played an incomplete playthrough before I played a complete playthrough. And the fact is, my incomplete playthrough was boring. It was just not interesting. We didn't have a good time with it, and everybody just sort of dropped off the map, and that's why we never finished it. And I think that's a big part of why I didn't enjoy it, because it's like, it just wasn't fun. I love Pandemic. I was like, why am I not enjoying this? There's something about it. And then when I got to my other group, my other Legacy group, and we played through the entire thing, then it was just kind of like, wow. And it was it was just an amazing feeling, and it was completely different from my initial experience, and I absolutely loved it. That said, I still don't believe that it should be number one on Board Game Geek. I do not believe that, and that is a fact. But that's just one man's opinion. I don't think that it deserved that top spot. However, I do like it far more than I did when I first started and when I was first talking about it and just sort of wondering why it is that it could have happened. Now I definitely see that a lot more. My eyes are open and my mind is clear. Pandemic Legacy is my number one game that has grown on me. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video for my top 5 games that have sort of grown over me over the last months and years that I initially just didn't like. And in a way, I think that this is one of the reasons that I love board gaming, is because I can go back and try out some of these other games that I tried before and just see if I still don't or if I still do like them. And it's been a lot of fun, especially since I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I'm just like, oh wow, like it's something that I can really start looking back on and sort of seeing how my tastes have evolved. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But that said, as always, I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. What are some games that you really didn't like at first, but now you really enjoy? Or what about themes? Are there particular things that you didn't like to see in games? Like, for example, me in Worker Placement, I really didn't like it, but now Lords of Waterdeep, boom, I absolutely love it. So please let me know any and all thoughts that you guys have in the comments below. With that, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you very, very much again for watching it, and I will see you next time.